Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. I am Dave Bryan, and joining me once again, as always, is the great Alex Kozora, fresh off of another trip to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe. It is Friday night. It is 5:05 Eastern Time. It is day 2 of Pittsburgh Steelers training camp. Alex, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Dave. Good day of practice today. Larger crowd, kind of more intense crowd overall. Good day of practice for this team. So excited to talk about it with you.
Absolutely. We got a lot to go over today and in as short of time as possible. But before we do that, Alex, tell them about our sponsor of the show, long-running sponsor, Touring Plans.
Absolutely. Touringplans.com. If you're traveling to Disney later this year, I think I got family later this year, going to try to make a trip out in October to Disney in Florida or the one in California. Any Disney related a park or event, even Disney Cruise Line, you want to hit up Touring Plans and help coordinate your trip through them. They'll give you the best deals overall, how to save money, how to avoid the lines when the crowds are at their heaviest, as they were in Latrobe today on Friday, when they're at their lightest, as they probably were more for these weekday, Thursday, Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. practices coming on up. So anything Disney related for your trip to have the best experience, you can focus on just enjoying the time as opposed to the stress about the logistics of it all. Touringplans.com, the people you want to talk to. Go to the website, again, touringplans.com, Len Testa, and tell them Steelers Depot sent you. So want to thank them. Also want to thank our site photographer, Tim Rice, who's taken some great photos. So should be up on the site here shortly. You guys saw the day one photos that he took, and that really helps create a literal visual for what's going on out there in Latrobe.
Absolutely, it does. All right, let's see. Where shall we start today? The housekeeping and Russell Wilson still sidelined by that calf issue. Doesn't sound serious still, but still day to day. Short term. What does Mike Tomlin call it? Short-term misery when it's related to him. But he was out there. You said it seemed like he did maybe a little bit more pre-practice than he maybe did on Thursday. But the fact of the matter is he's still not practicing yet.
Right. It really is probably me hyper-analyzing the situation, but whenever it's the starting quarterback coming off or dealing with a minor injury, it's going to be some point of intrigue and notice. Yeah, he was a little more active in warm-ups. He went through stretch line, did some toe touches and leg raising and some actual stretching. So if that calf injury was actually anything, even moderate to severe, not going to do those kinds of things. He was not jogging with the team when they went through stretch line, did not work in individual, did of course not work in team. But I believe Mike Tomlin, when he says it's a very minor injury, they're just being careful. I would expect Wilson back soon. Will that be on Saturday? I can't say for sure. I'd probably guess Tuesday at the latest when the pads come on with a Monday off day. That'd be my guess at it. But again, it is truly minor.
And he said he supposedly did that, pushing a sled on conditioning day?
Yeah, I didn't know they pushed sleds on conditioning day. Apparently, with this new strength and conditioning coaching staff, they really revamped that group this past year. Marcel Pastor left the team, and they brought in somebody else. So apparently, that's a new element of it. And I guess that's when Wilson, that calf tightened up some that he felt waking up on Thursday morning. So that's, whether that should happen or not happen, especially for a quarterback to push a sled. I don't know. That can be debated, but that seems to be the story.
Hope they ain't pushing them type sleds that James Harrison used to push around with all those weights.
And still pushes them around pretty much.
Yeah. He's going to have. He still has old man strength. He's going to have old man strength for quite some time. Okay. Anybody else that may? It didn't seem like you noted anybody is missing any time today, right?
Yeah, nothing I saw. Mike Tomlin did not have any new information on injuries after practice. I will say that defensive lineman Willington Prevlian, he was working in full today, working in team, or I think he was limited in some capacity yesterday. He was not working in individual. On Thursday, he did on Friday. So whatever it was, if it was very minor or just something going on, not quite sure the backstory there, but he was good to go. Players are still on NFI and PUP, and Cordero Patterson, Cole Holcomb, and Dean Lowry. No change there, but everyone else was practicing in full.
All right, that's good news because obviously at some point some guys are going to miss practice. Especially we're a week away from Friday Night Lights, and usually when you get either right before that or right after it, the list really starts growing a little bit as far as the injuries. So far so good. Obviously, you'd like to have your QB1 out there in Russell Wilson, but that hasn't taken place just yet. So I don't know. They're going to rest him through the weekend and then give it a go maybe after coming out of that first day off on Monday?
I think that's the latest that you could see Wilson sit out for, is to come back on that Tuesday when the pads come on. Again, he may be out there as early as tomorrow. If I had to guess, and again, we're just guessing, I would say they're going to hold him out Saturday, Sunday, or Tuesday is a more realistic target. But everything I've seen, the way that he's acted and the way that he's moved around and stretched some today, if there was a real issue with that calf and they weren't telling us, he wouldn't be doing some of those things. So I think you should confidently take them at their word. This is truly a minor injury.
All right, and obviously you still got the two guys in Dean Lowry and Cole Holcomb on the PUP list, and you still have Cordell Patterson on the NFI list as well too. All right, let's we kind of glossed over, a little bit glossed over the quarterback position yesterday. Talk about Justin Fields, Kyle Allen, and Plumlee, and how much those guys work, and how did they look today?
Fields, the deep ball was on display. The play of the day was a 51-yard completion on a post route from Fields to Pickens. It was a muddy pocket. There was some pressure. Fields was not able to step into it, had to throw it flat-footed because of the way the pocket was being constricted and constrained, and put it on the money to Pickens, who made a leaping grab. Now, again, they're not in pads. You can't be tackled. The defenders didn't even try to jump because they don't want to, get hurt on the way down or injure Pickens. So it's still a little, it's pretty light work overall, but still a big time completion. You see the deep ball with Fields. I do think, though, we know his deep ball is good. We know physically the traits are there. He can make those wow plays. There still is some work on consistency, ball placement. I think on the shorter range type stuff, he missed a crosser to Calvin Austin that was thrown behind, little high on a pass to Pat Frymuth on an RPO and 7 shots that was catchable. It skimmed through Frymuth's hands, but could have had better placement there. But you saw the deep ball, the touch on some of those slot fades. He hit one later in the day to Pat Frymuth, working on Deshaun Elliott for a 25-yard gain. So vertically, you see some really impressive stuff. It really goes back to cleaning up more the gimmies and routine type stuff for Justin Fields, and that's been his story since entering the NFL.
Yeah, both those guys, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields can sling it. That we know they have the arm strength for that. On that deep one to George Pickens, there's a clip of that, floating around on Twitter, and it's kind of a weird angle there. Did Dante Jackson, was he the one on that other side there that kind of he turned himself around? I mean, did he just lose tracking the ball?
I don't have a great note in my notebook on who exactly was playing corner or those kinds of things, to be honest with you. So you might have to defer to the video on that. But it's showing what Jackson kind of get turned around off the line or downfield.
No, downfield. And there's a couple of coaches that are scrambling. It looks like to kind of get out of his way, and he turns to the outside, and the pass is coming more to the over to his side, I guess, past the middle of the field, and then he has to turn himself back around as the ball is landing in Pickens' arm there. So okay. I was just curious if you saw, it doesn't look like there was anybody on that other side running vertically there. I just wondered if Dante might have lost that ball, because it just feels like that one probably shouldn't even been completed, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, that may be true. And again, in this scenario, I think
Let me send it to you. Let you see it. Well,
okay. Yes. Some of those DBs may be pulling up some. I don't know if you want to go up there and
I mean,
jump and risk.
I'm only working off one angle. You saw it
Okay.
live. Maybe it'll refresh your
Sure.
memory. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, there was that second DB. Okay, yeah, it was Jackson that was coming over from the inside. There was somebody behind Pickens. I knew there were two defenders down there. Yeah, he may have misjudged and kind of wasn't 100% sure where that ball was at. It looks like he just had a hard time trying to find where the football was at. He probably was maybe cover three and coming over from the other side. That wasn't his man there, obviously. So I think he might have just maybe thought the Pickens angle was going to be more upfield than what it ultimately became.
And once again, it's so hard to sit here and analyze one clip from one play at one angle on an iPhone, but I was just curious what you saw on that. Okay. Anything else about the quarterbacks?
Kyle Allen, I thought, had a nice day, just been efficient. I think all these quarterbacks have made good decisions. I haven't seen reckless throws, and the defense has not really even been close to intercepting a pass. They've contested some throws well, but I haven't really seen a truly maybe bad decision where something got thrown into a bunch of coverage and just kind of a really poor read or somebody lurking underneath a quarterback didn't see. So I think all the quarterbacks have done a nice job in that respect. Yeah, I think Allen's been efficient, maybe not wowing. It doesn't have obviously the arm strength or physical talent of a Fields or even a Russell Wilson, but I think he's been steady and solid, and that's what Pittsburgh's looking for as a number three. Plumlee getting some reps, and I think he's benefiting among the most in terms of Wilson being out. That really gives a real opportunity for Plumlee to get some work when otherwise he probably wouldn't if you had all three quarterbacks in front of him healthy and available. So that's been good. I was wondering, I want to get your take on this. They put Plumlee in the return line some. It's not a big deal, obviously, but is he missing out on some quarterback reps? Because whenever he's doing that, the quarterbacks are working on the side. It's just individual stuff. It's not in team period or anything like that. But there's a balance, I guess, the team will have to strike between allowing Plumlee to do some different things to try to maximize his versatility and value, but also giving him as many actual reps as a quarterback as possible to allow him to be the best quarterback he can be.
I mean, obviously you're there and I'm not, but I mean, he's already. I mean, put it to you this way: for a number 4 quarterback, how many reps has he got more than a normal 4th string quarterback would have at this time?
A lot more. Yeah. Again, he's benefited greatly by Wilson being. I know the talk is on Fields getting the first team working. That's more important overall. I mean, it's a nitpicking point because again, I mean, Plumlee is working with the quarterbacks 90% of the time. It's just one of those early practice sessions where you're fielding kicks and fielding punts where the quarterbacks are on the middle field with Tom Arth and they're going through some footwork drills, and Plumlee is not. He's still working with them in individual and, of course, in team. I just had that thought about trying to find that balance, but I totally get trying to get him involved in different ways because he is hyper athletic and
right.
Multi-sport star in college and got a tough bat to make it as a quarterback. So there is a line there. Should mention on Fields as well. They ran read option for the first time
right.
of camp, and they ran it early in warm-ups on air, and then in a third down period in team, Fields kept the ball and took it himself for what you probably would consider to be a first down, and you saw that speed and saw that burst. So that will be a component of this offense.
All right. Obviously don't have the pads on yet to hit or anything like that, but anything at all with the running back group, pecking order or whatever.
Yeah, there's really not a lot to report there. I might feel like P. Ryan's getting more work than the other backup running backs, but until the pads come on, you get some of the backs on backers drills Tuesday. It's hard to evaluate them. I do just appreciate Jaylen Warren with the mentality. I mean, every carry that he has, he takes to the end zone and will jog it out and run the whole way through. And that's what he did as a rookie. And even though he's established and a roster lock, and I mean, he's got a real obviously role on this team, he still has that same demeanor. I mean, he truly is a guy that embraces the act like you're a rookie, act like you're about to get cut mentality in the way that he goes about practice. So always appreciate guys to bring that kind of work ethic and mentality.
All right, mixed together the tight ends / fullbacks, if you will. How about a Coletto update and what's going on with the two combined position groups?
Coletto still getting fullback work. Connor Hayward got at least one snap. Did not see Darnell Washington line in the backfield today. Pat Freiermuth still seeing a bunch of targets. He saw the first 2 targets from Justin Fields in 7 shots. Both were incomplete. The first, there was a pretty good collision between Deshaun Elliott and Freiermuth. Freiermuth wanted legal pass interference probably would have been. Obviously, no refs there to throw that flag, but seeing Frymouth get involved a lot, and then had the catch on Elliott for 25-yard or so gain on a slot fade later in practice. So obviously, he's going to be a big element of this passing game, and a good start for him overall, staying late after practice, working with Roman Wilson, catching passes from Russell Wilson, who threw a little bit to those guys after practice ended. Rodney Williams getting a lot of work on special teams. He's out there probably to consider him a starting wing next to Miles Killebrew. And so, that's going to help him. Pruitt's gotten a little bit of work on special teams as well, but certainly felt that with Rodney Williams. And Darnell Washington, pretty quiet in the passing game. No targets the first 2 days. Don't want to make too much of that, but people wondering about Darnell in year 2, not much to report.
Still using a lot of 2 and 3 tight end, multiple tight ends in the sessions.
Sure, they are. Maybe a little less so today. I'm doing my best to track personnel this year because I want to try to, I know practices can be set up to focus on different things on different days, but just to get a better gauge of some of the, where Arthur Smith and his offense will lean on. But they had some more third down periods today that had more 11 personnel. So what you work on in practice can kind of skew those things. If you're run heavy, if you're in goal line one day, you're of course going to be in heavier personnel. If you're working 2-minute working third down stuff, you're going to be in 11 personnel in those moments. So, but safe to say overall, it has certainly felt like the Arthur Smith offense. There were a bunch of RPOs today too. Right. And so that's going to be something that I think Smith's offenses have grown and done more of over time. And that tracks with what the NFL has done overall. There was even some power where you pull the backside tackle dart schemes and run the RPO off of that. So I don't know if I've seen power on an actual designed run, like true run call so far, but seeing some of that in the RPO game.
All right. We'll go to wide receiver next.
We should talk George Pickens again. I mean, you get the big 51-yard catch downfield. He's had some good battles with Dante Jackson. That's been a really fun matchup. You thought it'd be more Pickens and Porter, but we've seen a lot of Pickens and Jackson, and those guys have had their wins. Jackson knocked away a pass, or at least really had good coverage that led to an incompletion on Pickens in the second team session right after 7 shots. I guess there's some story about Pickens being upset after Fields didn't see him on one play today. I heard a comment about that from fans behind me, but I don't think it was really. I think it's really much ado about nothing. I think it's kind of a little low-hanging fruit to hang on every reaction from George Pickens. I get the concern overall, but I'm not gonna, lose my mind every time this guy shows a little bit of frustration, because a lot of receivers do. Calvin Austin did after that one pass to Fields was behind and incomplete. So I'm not gonna go crazy over every reaction that Pickens has.
I think Mark Cabali went on the fan and said he's got to grow up. So I know we wrote about that this afternoon. Man, I hope this doesn't become every day. Here's what George Pickens did, I mean, he's an emotional guy anyway. I think we know that about him at this point, 2 years into his season. And it just first 2 days talking about, hopefully it subsides and we're not spending 2.5 minutes every podcast saying, here's what George Pickens did to piss somebody off today. All right. What about the rest of the wide receiver group?
A little more active for Roman Wilson. Caught his first 2 passes in team periods today. Felt like he was getting more opportunities and probably a little higher reps as they're mixing and matching. Still would consider these starting 3 receivers to be Pickens and Jefferson and Calvin Austin, who's really kind of worked pretty primarily out of the slot. Probably been some outside stuff as they can mix and match these guys, but I would consider Austin to really be that slot receiver right now. And he was an outside guy at Memphis and played both last year when Deontay went down, playing more outside, a little bit more slot whenever Deontay got healthy. So watching that unfold, had give a catch today to Austin.
So it was Austin on that slot fade looked like.
Yeah, it was. I think there was one that was incomplete to him, and then they went back to it later, and he did catch that. So, he's been able to make some plays, and want to see that continue. Want to see more. Once the pads come on, can you make combative catches and catch outside your frame? That's going to be key for Calvin Austin. Just a general note too, because of the whole story day one about Zach Azzanni and George Pickens, I was trying to get a real good just watch on Azzanni coaching the receivers. And again, those guys on the field going through drills, 10, 15 minutes before practice begins. Just really hands-on, really vocal, explaining the why. I know we say that about a lot of coaches, I'm sure, but you can kind of definitely get a different feel of the type of coach he is compared to Frisman Jackson, the coach last year.
What's the deal with the chairs?
That's a great question. I do not know. There's a photo on my timeline of them going through a drill early on. They're holding chairs. I was trying to figure out if they're working on releases or run blocking or what exactly the point was. I think it was just to try to work their posture and keep their elbows in tight as they're pumping their legs. I'm not 100% sure, but first time I've ever seen folding chairs used in a practice.
Hopefully somebody don't pick up one. He's got a folding chair. I found that the next time that even I'm surprised Mike Tomlin wasn't asked about that after practice.
Yeah, I'd love to know. I mean, coaches do some different things, and I like coaches to kind of do some funky stuff in drills to break up the monotony of it. And again, I think it was probably to help just keep their arms in tight. You hold the chair, and you got to have your elbows, and have the right posture for it. So I think that's what it was. But that was a new one to me.
I might have to search the Twitter machine or the Google machine to see if I can find any evidence of that drill. I forgot to do that before we got on. Speaking of the top three, and I had this in my notes to ask you about today. Van Jefferson already running, top with that top group there. What's your early take? Kind of deeper takeaway on Van Jefferson after just 2 practices.
That he's one of the top 3 receivers on this team as things currently stand. All things subject to change, of course, but that there's a longer strider element to him. I think he's a bigger guy, the one I thought, just seeing him out there, and some speed too. I mean, this is a guy that did have success with the Rams and had a couple of good years there, and things sort of faded, got traded over to Atlanta midway through last season and didn't see a lot of routes and a lot of targets after that. Atlanta offense that was not exactly great at throwing the football overall. So a little more impressed than maybe I expected from Jefferson, which of course is a good thing, but we'll keep watching it going forward.
All right. Roman Wilson got involved. Saw his name on the Twitter machine a couple of times. I think he had a 7-shot score, if I'm not mistaken. I think
was that him? Okay, because I couldn't find. There was one guy I don't have with the score on. Was that one of the later plays in 7 shots?
I believe so. I just remember seeing it. I think at one point in there as one of maybe a going to the ground or something like that.
Okay, that was him.
Score there. So I think he got a little. I saw him come up with getting a couple of receptions according to the feed today. And what about kind of that next group? We talked a lot about kind of Marcus Callaway leading up to training camp. Obviously, Quez Watkins has got some experience in the NFL, as does Scotty Miller. What about kind of that next group?
I should amend my comment earlier. 3 catches for Wilson, because that was the one guy I didn't have. There was a sea of bodies I couldn't see. So Wilson, that was 7 shots. That had to have been him, the one guy that I was missing. So 3 catches on the day. Another one was a 10-yard route sideline and a good route over the middle for a 13-yard gain, working on Kalen Barnes. For the other receivers, it's been quiet. I mean, the one downside with this Arthur Smith offense for those guys is it's so kind of boot heavy and tight end heavy and running back heavy. The receivers don't always get a bunch of targets. And these guys might be being a little conservative. The quarterbacks are early on taking a profit, taking what's there, being smart with the football, doing those kinds of things before maybe kind of making some more challenging throws later on in camp. But frankly, I mean, Callaway caught one on day 1. I don't know if Watkins has 1 catch that was over the middle for a good gain yesterday, but there's not been a ton to really note about those guys because the targets just really have not been there overall.
And I suppose you get the guys like Jacob Copeland, Des Fitzpatrick, Jeray Jenkins, Deuce Watts. I mean, the reps are really, really few and far between for those guys, right?
Sure, reps limited, targets even more so. Izani did have about a good 20-second discussion with Copeland as they went through a drill, I think working on releases today where Copeland didn't do it right and Izani paused the drill. And that's interesting. Some coaches have the mindset of like, don't coach during practice. Let's just kind of get through practice, get through as many reps as possible, and then we'll go over things after in the film room. And some coaches have the mentality of, let's slow things down. Let's talk things out and kind of be efficient and get the reps right, as opposed to maximizing. It's a quality over quantity kind of thing. Izani is certainly, I think, in that landscape where you're talking to a guy like Copeland. No disrespect to him, but not going to make the 53. but stopping everything to talk with him and have a conversation about what he wants, and Copeland watch next couple of guys go through to try to get it down pat. So that's my note on Copeland, but there's been nothing in terms of team period for him.
All right, real quick, back to the running backs real quick. People are probably going to be upset because we haven't talked about Dejon Edwards yet, really, and guys like Aaron Shamplin and all. But, I mean, there's really not much to report until the pads go on, right? Until those guys start getting more reps, too.
Yeah, how do you judge a running back that can't be tackled? I mean, some of those guys will look good in space, but you can't tell contact balance and power and those kinds of things. They've seen some good cutbacks from, Warren and Harris, and maybe guys reading it pretty well. I think Shampkin's got a bit more size and bulk than what I thought, but it's frankly just difficult to really evaluate those guys until the pads come on.
Both guys look better in uniforms than you do, right?
Yeah, you can say about all 91 on the roster. And Roman Wilson, a rocked up dude, like not a big dude. I've probably seen some photos of him after practice shirtless. This dude is washboard abs, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Where are we now? Offensive line, same running groups as yesterday. You want to review those for anybody that maybe late getting to the special edition of the podcast and maybe missed the first one? You want to rewind through the groups real quick?
Yeah, first team, Dan Moore, left tackle, Isaac Seumalo, left guard, Nate Herbig at center, James Daniels, right guard, Broderick Jones, right tackle. Second team, Dylan Cook, left tackle, Mason McCormick, left guard, Zach Frazier, center, Spencer Anderson at right guard, Troy Fautanu at right tackle. Third team, Devery Hamilton at left tackle, Tyler Beach, left guard, Ryan McCollum at center, Joey Fisher, right guard, and Anderson Hardy at right tackle. McCormick did take one first team right guard rep when James Daniels false started and had to come out. I believe it was McCollum got a rep at left guard after McCormick earlier false started himself. And Troy Fautanu took at least one right tackle rep with the first team in 7 shots. And I think Labs had said that Broderick Jones had kicked over to left tackle on that rep. So kind of like what happened with Jones last year, where occasionally he would get thrown in the first team and Moore would shift over to right tackle and Jones would go to left tackle. Seems to be a similar process here with Fautanu.
Okay, and Spencer Anderson, last year's late draft pick, he's only playing guard so far is what you've seen. Do you remember do you remember back to early training camp last year where Anderson was at?
To start camp?
Yeah.
I believe right tackle. I can look it up here in my notes now.
That's what I thought, but I can't find me having that written down anywhere.
All right, I'll pull up my notes from last year. I think because I know he played more tackle than probably anything else last year. And he did kick around and end up playing all 5 spots. Let me pull it up. But so far, it has been just right guard with the second team to start training camp. I mean, I imagine guys will eventually start moving around, especially when injuries occur. Last year, day 1 at camp, he was running third team right tackle. Let me just check day 3 to see if he had moved around, done anything different by that point. Still third team right tackle. That's where he began last year.
Okay, and with the tackles that they have now and all like that, with him having some background at guard, I think we had kind of anticipated he's going to be kicking inside more.
Yeah, I think the spring reporting said he was really working only at guard, so we'll see if he moves. The only guy I really kind of questioned maybe where he would play, tackle or guard. I mean, Anderson aside, but like Anderson Hardy, because we mentioned before, tackle in college, little undersized, lacking length. Would he be a guard in Pittsburgh or a tackle? He's working right tackle, but because he's third team, Anderson's second team, there's really no way to kind of like swap those two right now. So obviously when you have Cook and Fautanu as your tackle second team, they're going to be there. That's going to, kind of compel and kick Anderson inside.
All right, without the pads on or anything stick out with any of those guys? Maybe the top line or something, or faux pas or anything like that?
Some false starts, too many of those, I think, for the offense collectively. Like I said, Daniels had one, McCormick had one. Probably could have called another on somebody on like the final team rep. There was definitely some sort of movement up front, but kind of let the play just go on to finish out practice. Snaps were cleaner today, and that was good. There were some snap issues yesterday, and it's not like it's raining in Latrobe. I'm sure it will someday, but it's been totally dry so far. But procedural standpoint, actually, there was one. What do I have? It was a botched exchange. It's in my notes somewhere between. I think it was Kyle Allen and Jonathan Ward. There was a missed exchange there. I got to go back on my notes and double check that, but there was one, but that was not center or offensive line related.
All right. Zach Frazier is entirely second team still center, right?
Yeah, entirely second team center.
Okay. Anything else about the offensive line before we flip over here?
No, like I said, I know it's not much information, but it is just so tough to evaluate O-line and run game until the pads come on. So until Tuesday, and they do O-line, D-line, and those types of things, you get true run sessions, live tackling. It's just, it's really OTA type stuff, and it's hard to evaluate those guys.
And really, I mean, we learn more about the offensive line during the preseason than we do any other time. Even though, I mean, what kind of things do you normally pick up out there once the pads go on that are at the angle that you're at that's more kind of definitive,
Sure, it's not the easiest thing. The all 22 view is so much different, so much better. I mean, line, D-line, you kind of just see athleticism, change of direction, punch, some of those types of things. During team period, it is tough to evaluate one guy because I'm trying to watch the play, obviously talk about the play itself, and it can be hard to really, really hone in on one individual dude, but we still get some information. But as you said, Dave, the preseason is when you kind of really learn about those guys.
Yeah, other than in practice seeing a guy on the ground too much or something like that, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, and that's happened in years past where you can just kind of, but those are usually like the bottom end of the roster guys, where you just sit there and say, okay, not terribly surprising that guy's not going to make it. I remember Emmanuel McCray from a decade ago was a guy that was always on the ground and, didn't obviously last with the team. But other than that and snapping type issues, then you don't always get a ton of stuff on those guys, at least day by day.
All right, flipping over to the defensive line group. We'll start there. 2 practices, and DeMarvin Leal's name is shown up more than a few times in these reports on the positive side, which is very good news.
It is. You might be right. I know it's only 2 days and the pad's got to come on, but you had Leal on your roster prediction.
Whoa. My Andre the Giant meme, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, it's still early, but go ahead.
It is, but he's certainly not hurt his cause so far in a make or break camp for DeMarvin Leal. Pass deflection today was a really active day for the D-line. Hayward had a pass deflection. Logan Lee had one, and Leal had one. And so I think Justin Fields had 3 batted passes, or three of his throws that were batted down today, one by Watt, one by Hayward, and one by Leal. It was Lee that batted down a pass from Plumlee to end one team period. So another thing on Fields, maybe you need to work on launch point a little bit. Not the tallest quarterback in the world, but nice to see those D linemen get after it in that sense, because they know they can't hit the quarterback. And so the next best thing you can do is impact those throwing lanes. But yeah, Leal showing athleticism, burst, headiness to get his hands up. He chased Jalen Warren 30 yards downfield after Warren finished off, I think, one screenplay and tried to punch the ball out. So finishing the plays, doing the little things, getting some quality reps and work overall. Second team left defensive end, second team lefty tackle, and nickel and sub packages. So that's all been good for him.
Can you roll through the lines real quick for the people?
Let me think here if I had it directly in my notes. I mean, first team is, Ogunjobi, Benton, and Hayward. Again, Hayward, like yesterday, did not work the final team period. Loudermilk would go to first team right at the end in those moments. We'll see if Lowry does that instead whenever he comes off PUP. But just managing some of Hayward's reps. Second team in that case would be Leal, Adams, and Loudermilk. Second team when Hayward is practicing fully in that team period. Third team, Fehoko, Logan Lee at lefty end, and then I think I said Slade yesterday at right the end, but that could be a bit of a floating position overall.
Didn't Lee mostly play on the right side of the Iowa defense?
I think you're right. We can check. You want me to try to look it up here on PFF?
I'm almost positive because I watched a lot of tape on him, and it seemed like mostly on the right when looking at from behind the defense, right side there.
I will say his pass deflection, he was over left guard. So that means he would have been a right D tackle. So maybe he's kind of floating some right D tackle in sub and some left defensive end in base. And there may be some mixing and matching too. I don't know if he's aligning kind of strength or close side of the field or open side of the field, but probably playing both.
Let's roll back to 2023 with Logan Lee by position. Defensive left tackle, 1 snap. Defensive right tackle, 595 snaps.
That's how you'd be right about the right side.
Left nose tackle, 3 snaps. Right nose tackle, Shade, 111 snaps. So yeah, he was mostly and then right in 31 snaps. So predominant right side guy. So that you're seeing him more on the left at least to start.
Yeah, that's what I have. I think in my notes. And again, I probably doing some both. I know, like I said, that the pass deflection had to have put him over there on the right side. So you may want to just get him comfortable. I mean, he's only been in a right-handed stance his whole career, and you got to get him in a left-handed stance to get more comfortable there. Maybe that's some of the thought process by doing that. But I'll make a note of that to keep watching for that for Saturday's practice and beyond.
I'm just trying to bring some value.
No, that's good. I didn't even consider, where he was in college. And so that's, I didn't realize, he basically never played on what about 2022? Did he play on the left side? I guess, or any background of him being a left end or lefty tackle? No, 2022, like 2 snaps.
2022, yeah. Mostly on the right side, right?
Yeah, so he's been he's like James Washington. Remember, he was a right side player only. And then 2021.
It's not really probably that uncommon, I guess, at its core, right? And because Loudermilk, he was mostly left at Wisconsin.
I couldn't tell you for anything on that. I'm going to guess you're right because you're pulling all the content there. So. And he's now mostly a right defensive end in Pittsburgh. So,
okay.
We'll have to see, and if Lee's going to get moved around or not, and what his role is, and some package type of work. But I imagine again, a lot of these guys will float. The outside linebackers will switch and they'll flip as well. So I think you're just trying to get these guys comfortable in different spots and different stances.
All right, outside linebacker, that TJ Watt guy's still pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's going to make the team, Dave. Okay. He was getting pressure in 7 shots.
I'll write him down in pin on my 53.
I think it's a safe bet overall. Yes, knocking down passes. He had the pass deflection. It was 7 shots. Which, by the way, for anyone wondering, defense won. 7 shots, 4-2-3. It was tied 3-3 for the last rep. Mike Tomlin put the first team offense, first team defense back out there. Fields looked right side, and Watt knocked the pass down. Pass fell in the end zone. Defense wins for that, but pressures in 7 shots off of play action and team period. So that guy was everywhere today, as he usually is.
All right, Jeremiah Moon still running second team on the left side or right side?
He has been, I would say, majority of the time right side, but he has played both, and he's played with his hand down quite a bit. I mentioned that yesterday, being a bigger guy, kind of almost looks like a 4-3 defensive end. If Pittsburgh ran a 4-3, that's what he'd be playing. So he's gotten some hand down work as well, and so he's been working with Herbig opposite. And Herbig has primarily been, I guess that would be left side, but they have definitely been flipping too.
And Paralysis?
I don't know which side. I can try to check my notes. He's been third team with Kyron Johnson, and then Wolshoff will kind of get mixed in and get a couple of reps as well. I can try to see my notes today where I had Paralysis lined up. I don't want to.
I'm just trying to. I'm formulating all these. I'm formulating this stuff in my head now.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking like more right outside linebacker for Paralysis. I don't have that specifically said in my notes, but usually the way I write, because I have Kyron Johnson and David Paralysis, that usually means I have Johnson written first in my notes. So I think that's how things are set up.
All right. What about the inside linebacker group?
Yeah, Peyton Wilson, first guy on the field. Actually, I didn't see him come down the stairs. I think he came like the back way because he was out there on the sleds on the far field well before.
He talked evidently after practice that he's got a routine, that he likes this routine and spending X amount of time on the field before practice starts, and he's not going to change that routine. So he's probably going to be a guy that you're probably not even going to see come down the stairs because, like you say, he probably is going to already be out there then. Good on him, man.
Yeah, that's a guy that he's 24, he's mature, and I think the most underrated part of Pittsburgh's draft class is the maturity of the group because it's an older group. We saw a record low number of underclassmen this year. There were like 53, 54 underclassmen, and so you got seniors and 24-year-olds or soon to be 24-year-olds in Fautanu. Roman Wilson, I believe, is 23. Peyton Wilson is 24. And so there's a little different kind of maturity level to this class in totality. And I think Wilson leads that group. And yeah, it's not, he's working down there, but some of it is just like, I think he wants to be on the grass and wants to be acclimated. Some of it's like he's putting all his equipment on and just kind of stretching a little bit and talking with Aaron Curry, the inside linebackers coach. So it's not like he's hammering drills the entire time.
Right.
But I think, as he said, and as you pointed out, it's just kind of his process of, I don't want to get on the field and then 10 seconds later start doing football, like intense football drills. I want some time to kind of just, I don't know, not meditate, but just kind of get in sync and get in that football mindset. And you have to appreciate that.
All right. Well, who's running in kind of that third group then?
Let's see. Third group, because first team would be Robertson, Queen. Second team, Wilson and Robinson. That would leave third team of a little bit of Tyler Murray. I haven't seen much of Dirty Red out there. I don't know if that's just because he's the veteran. It's kind of like, we know what you can do. Let's kind of give Winman. Winman's getting some time as well. He had a tackle or a tag today, no official tackling. But yeah, the third team kind of gets into that messy rotation because you have an odd number of guys, because you got 7 healthy inside linebackers right now. So you get some rotation going on there. But Murray, Winman, and I'll double check for Medikevich.
All right, let's roll together all of the secondary, the corners and the safety positions, and most notably what's happening in the slot.
Yeah, Beanie Bishop. I thought there'd be more rotation today. I really hadn't seen that. It was a lot of Beanie Bishop in the slot, and he held up well. He had a blanket on Calvin Austin on one of those slot fades, and the pass fell incomplete. And Bishop got a lot of props from his defensive teammates. Way to go, Beanie. Good job, Beanie. All those kinds of things. So there's real potential staying power there. I think maybe Elliott worked in the slot some. I saw Graylin Arnold getting some slot work, kind of lower on the depth chart as well. Haven't really seen much of Josiah Scott getting work there, but I may have missed a rep or two. But it really has been, Beanie Bishop. I don't want to say in command because it's 2 days in, but for the starting point, he's been the primary slot guy.
Well, Mike Tomlin tried to tamp that down after practice. Just don't read, once again, his annual, don't read too much into it. So, but make no mistake, it'd be nice if they got a young kid like that to come out of this, kind of the Mike Hilton-esque, be able to give you some quality snaps right out and shoot, and obviously we've talked about him from the moment he, was added as an unrestricted free agent overall there. So definitely something to watch moving forward there. And like you said, we could get to tomorrow, we could be talking about someone else getting a predominant bulk of the first team things there. So, all right, what else? Corner, safety, anything that stuck out?
Yeah, I like what Dante Jackson has done. I know it's not been perfect, and Pickens has gotten him a couple times, but Pickens is going to get a lot of guys. Just, sometimes we've seen some of those clips, and some of that stuff was in 7-on-7 as well yesterday, at least. But Jackson had a breakup early in team in practice today where, contested it well down the sideline. And I've been really impressed. I've been impressed by his short-term memory, his run support, his willingness there. Again, I know they're not tackling, but you kind of can see some of that stuff, and even in padless sessions. And I think he's, given Pickens a lot to handle. So I've been happy with his play so far.
I did wonder on that slot fade to Calvin Austin. I think Minka was in the back there. If that had been a full speed type situation, because I think that ball kind of was more to the middle of the field, and I don't think it's so hard to tell. I don't think Minka was obviously coming full speed there. I did think to myself, man, I wonder if Calvin Austin might have been sitting next to you if that had been a live rep per se.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That was the one left sideline. Is that the one you're talking about?
It would have it was coming. Well, I mean, it was, the video is from left to right, and the catch was more on the right side of the numbers. If memory recalls me. So I don't know what that is in relation to if it's flipped from, because I would imagine that the camera's in the crowd where you are. So
right. I'll have to double check here. I'm probably getting my wires crossed.
Yeah, I mean, it's insignificant. It's just something that ran through my head, while watching that clip there. All right, anything else to add about the corners, safeties? I mean, we'll know more about them once this thing starts getting a lot more live.
I did see one rep, kind of caught just a glimpse at it of Ryan Watts playing down next to Peyton Wilson. It was a third down period. You really could call that probably a dime backer. Well, I don't have all the listing of all the DBs that were out there that rep, but I saw 2-9 down in the box like a inside linebacker. He came out the next rep. Mark Robinson subbed in for him. So are they going to try maybe some of that with Ryan Watts, given his size and crazy length and physicality? Maybe there's something, not starting week one, but try it in the preseason and see how it suits him. And if he can handle that role as a maybe, quasi safety linebacker.
All right, recap all the special teams action in football. There was some football today, right? With a soccer ball out there, and you thought you're going to slide Nate Meters past me as the backup up back, but you didn't.
Never. Can't do that. I know you're all over the backup man conversations there. Yeah, the soccer balls were used for the gunners to help, simulate downing a punt. They would stand, they'd be taking 3-4 steps and have to throw the soccer ball back in play and stay out of the end zone. I think somebody asked, why not use an actual football there? Soccer ball doesn't roll the right way, but do that with footballs. They're going to bounce around the whole time and you're never going to probably get quality reps and work. You're just trying to drill the point about your footwork and having a sense of where you're at on the field, spatial awareness and those kinds of things. So that was the use of the soccer balls. But yeah, a lot of funky things on the field. Soccer balls and chairs at a football practice, American football practice overall. And then, yeah, for the punt team, again, rotating some different guys in, but Nate Meters, the safety, second team up back. Jack Coloto getting wing work. Like I said earlier, Rodney Williams getting wing work. Some of the running backs getting that work as well. Peyton Wilson getting punt coverage action, not as an up man or anything, but on the line. So a lot of those guys still, getting reps to try to maximize their chances and versatility.
And you're not seeing, guys like, you're not seeing any actual punting or field goal or anything like. They'll get into that a little bit, couple of days here, right?
Yeah, all simulated stuff, and there no actual punting, no actual kicking taking place. Should note for the early in practice for the punt returns and kick return warm-ups, those are out of the machine. Those aren't actually being kicked or anything. But for the kick returns, you can tell they're kick returns because they're being skipped. They're being one-hopped, like a short stop to them. I think anticipating more of the squib variety and lower line kicks. Danny Smith talked about hang time. Doesn't matter anymore because no one can move until the ball hits the ground or the ball is caught. So you can put it 5 seconds in the air. It's not giving your coverage team time to get down there. And I think it's being reflected in some of the drills, which were mostly handled by Jalen Warren, by the way. So I wonder, we'll assume Patterson's good for week one. Hope be one of those guys back there. You might see Jalen Warren be the other guy. Also saw a little bit of Roman Wilson and John Rice Plumlee getting some of that kick return action as well.
Something he took one off the coconut, didn't he?
He did. It was in punt return, and I guess he just lost the ball or something, but right off the noggin, off his helmet, and caught the next one to a mock cheer from the crowd. But that's him making that transition. A guy that has not done a lot of that stuff. Obviously played quarterback for the last 2 years, but those are kind of things hopefully you can go back and laugh on if he makes this team.
All right, Corey Trice Jr. still running around, just probably nothing notable really on him. And what about Darius Rush?
Yeah, Rush working second team corner, I think primarily, I'll check my notes here, but right corner, Trice working third team corner, I think primarily left corner. Nothing to really note on their play, nothing that I've seen bad. Like I said, a lot of these, third team reps, you're kind of getting shorter throws and check downs and boots to the tight end and that type of stuff. So really not even many opportunities, not like they're allowing catches, just kind of not seeing much action so far. But 2 days in, it'll come. They'll get their targets and we'll see how they do from there.
All right, give me two overarching thoughts of two padless practices to start training camp. What are just two kind of overarching, generic, non-hot takey, because I know if I don't keep you corralled, you'll go all hot take and all. That's your nature.
Of course, the scorching takes. Yeah. Alex scorching takes.
No, just maybe just some loose, first impressions here.
Yeah, I think, and I guess it's kind of silly to sit there and go, yeah, the offensive coordinator's offense, it looks like his offense, but we did kind of have the thought, would this be more of a merge point because Smith coming to a team that was a bit more established, obviously overall, not like he's getting hired for a team that's totally rebuilding and new regime and take it down to the studs. That's not the place Pittsburgh is in. And he thought maybe there'd kind of be a Smith flair, but he would also just kind of go with what Pittsburgh has been using, 11 personnel heavy, those types of things. Not seeing that it really truly is the Arthur Smith experience, for good or bad. Time will tell, but it has been his offense really to a T in terms of what his background is, his philosophy is. and the personnel and the people and the way that things are conducted. So that's one. And then the second, just being some young defensive guys that, have my attention, a Beanie Bishop, a DeMarvin Leal, just seeing some flashes there. Again, long ways to go. I know we were broken record, but it is so important to put that context out there. Pads aren't on for an athlete like Leal. You'd want him to shine in environments like this, but still, I think he's caught my attention in a positive way, and Bishop might have a real shot at the slot corner spot, which is also certainly notable.
All right. Well, good job of painting a picture for Friday. I certainly do appreciate it. As I've said time and time over the years, I'm selfish. I want to get this information out of you to paint the picture, and we let all these people listen in on top of it.
It's worked pretty well so far.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I learn a lot out of these, along with your daily diary, which is up and pinned to the top of SteelersDepot.com. So if people get a chance, please run by and read that. If you have not already done so, you and I will be back. I guess the practice is later tomorrow, so it'll be a later version of the special edition of the Terrible Podcast on Saturday, whenever Alex gets back and gets his diary written and gets food in him and all like that. So that's the schedule for probably both Saturday and Sunday there. So in the meantime, as always, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, we got an ad-free version. Hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar as well. So until Saturday evening, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024 with Dave and Alex.